IVM.
Hello, welcome to Football Twaddle. My name is Saru, and to discuss football not watched this weekend with me, we have Yash Sawant. Yash, what's up?
Hi guys. I'm
All
good.
right, yeah, yes. So since we don't watch football, and because Bayern is going to win the Bundesliga, we know La Liga is starting, Premier League is starting. Let's talk about all the rumors you've heard. So let's start
Yeah,
off with, I was just telling you before, 2 minutes before, Igalo is now signed till January 2021.
yeah, I think it's pretty good. He was quite popular with the fans, and him being there, he's always been a short-term solution. So United should buy like a big-name striker along with him, maybe in this summer or next
Like
summer.
Harry Kane.
No, I think he's done, man. I think he's hit his peak, and it's all going to be downhill from now on.
Dude, Baru and I think when we started the podcast, Harry Kane's first season was almost finishing. So we said, ugly season, so he's gone. He's a one season wonder. And
No, I
that didn't work out.
think right. I think he'll be a decent fox in the box type of a striker from now on. So if you have like a decent team, he'll be a good addition. But United needs someone much better in that position to deliver. They can't have someone like Kane who has fitness issues and can't carry the team.
So what other rumors have you been hearing or reading about?
Yeah, so Saul Niguez, who's been a target for United, had put up a social media post announcing new club in 3 days. This happened 2 days ago, and now he's updated. Like he's put in a new post which says announcing new club in 2 days. So I mean that's put everyone in a tizzy, and everyone's guessing what is he talking about. But you
But
know,
does United want someone who has no idea about math?
no man, I mean, he's supposed to be a very good striker. I have not seen him play a lot. I mean, I've obviously only seen his highlights, but he's pretty highly rated, and United needs someone in midfield, and he seems to be the
You
guy
think
that's needed.
in the current environment, you think it's fair for United to push away the black striker and get a white one?
Saul Niguez was,
Don't don't black lives matter?
yeah, but I mean, if he comes in, he'll replace McTominay, who's whiter than him. So
Dude, McTominay is good. Why do you want to replace him? I think he'll replace Matic, no?
you need, so you need a pretty deep squad, and McTominay is good, but from what I've read, he's not the levels that Saul Niguez is.
Wow, why you just reading? See YouTube also. You may get a better idea. All right, so that's one rumor. Is there any other rumors you heard?
Yeah, there are lots of nutty rumors going around. Jadon Sancho is one. I don't think he's going to move from Dortmund this summer, but he's supposed to move on. Then even
He's supposed to go to Chelsea. The next day, he's supposed to go to United.
yeah, the next day. I mean, he's linked to all sorts of teams, and Holland, of course. I mean, he's not been there for 4 months, 5 months, but everybody is linking him to every
But
team,
talking about
especially.
Jadon Sancho, man, he scored a hat trick over the weekend against Paderborn. Oh,
Yeah,
dude, that guy is such a good talent. Every time I've seen him, he tries to do things. He plays really well. At the age of 20, that guy is quite good. I think every team should go after him, depending on how much money they have.
and what a good decision by him to leave City when he did. I mean,
Yeah,
in these last 2 years, he's really come on leaps and bounds at Dortmund, and this time, I mean, it's fair enough. They're playing the lowest team, the team position the lowest, I think, in the league. But I mean, the talent is clearly there. I've seen him in a few England games as well, where he looks very bright.
yeah. I think if he can, he should just stay back at Dortmund at least for one more year and play
Mhm.
with Haaland, Thorgan Hazard, Axel Witsel. That's such a exciting team that is. Why would he want to break that up?
Yeah, I
No
mean,
one wants to be remembered as like the guy who broke up the team, no?
yeah, but that's the story of Dortmund every season, right? I mean, all their best players leave, so he'll be another one in the long list. But given that the current scenario, and they're saying that the transfer market won't see a lot of activity, people will save up money. Maybe he'll stay on, and will be this team will certainly be the team to look out for in Europe next year.
Yeah, like they had to just change their coach. I mean, that guy was good enough to. not win the league title. He's just like finishes third or fourth. Oh, by the way, you know the longest transfer saga currently, which has been happening for a year, is Leroy Sané
To Bayern?
to Bayern.
But why is this a saga? He's had fitness troubles, right?
But it's been going on and on now.
But man, I mean, I really like Leroy Sané. I mean, when he was there at, when he was fit, I used to be pretty surprised that Pep didn't pick him more often.
You were surprised that he was fit, or what is it?
No,
What do you,
that Pep didn't pick him more often. Like Pep chose to play Bernardo or Sterling. He has a lot of options, to be fair, but I mean, I liked Leroy Sané the most out of all of them.
but I think you and I think Pep is a fraud, right? So,
Absolutely.
so this just proves one more thing.
Yeah, absolutely. If he leaves City, then it'll be great for his career as well.
Even Pep's career. You think Pep will leave if the City don't get into Champions League this season?
Why will he not get into the Champions League?
Like he'll take a 1 year sabbatical, come and coach Mumbai City FC, and then go back.
No, dude.
Wait, just paint a picture, dude. Let's say Pep comes tomorrow or next month to Mumbai City FC for a coach for 1 year. There's nothing called transfer budget here, so you can't buy anyone literally. So he pretty much has to play with the team he has. How do you think the team is going to do?
I think they'll do pretty well, end up mid-table, play a lot of pretty football.
Really,
And
with the current players he has, he can't buy like Sergio Aguero or Messi or whoever.
I'm sure he can coach. I mean, the current set of players Mumbai City have to play a decent style of game, if not win games. And given the drop-off of talent, I mean, he's already bald, but if he had any hair, he'd lose all of those.
Oh man. So okay, what else have you been watching? You know, La Liga is starting very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, for a change, the La Liga seems to be pretty competitive. I mean, didn't someone say that if Real Madrid was on top, they would have like finished the league?
You mean didn't some
Yeah,
friend of ours say it on our WhatsApp group? Is that what you're saying?
It was one of those Xavi or someone, whatever.
But that probably is true. Real Madrid is politically more powerful, so if they were leading, they would have found a way to just get the league abandoned and get declared winners.
Really?
It's not even surprising, dude.
I mean,
Barcelona as a club is so useless that they had to get Messi to cut 90% of his wages to even survive as a club right now.
dude, Messi's fees are insane, right?
Okay, so he's like foregone 90% of his wages currently, so that the club can survive, right? So they're basically living off Messi more than anything. Real Madrid is a political institution.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows? Anyway, Spain, I mean, the less we say about the economy, the better, right?
But you know, Florentino Perez is one of the biggest construction magnates of Madrid.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so he knows everyone in the government. He always gets what he wants. So yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. Xavi saying it doesn't make any sense to me. But if Real Madrid were leading the league, I think even I get the feeling they could have closed the league and said, "Yeah, declare us as the winners." And another bald fraud Zidane would have won a league title.
Then so many more clubs would have lost money. No, now at least they'll make some revenue of the games that are gonna happen.
No, but Perez would have done some back payment to all of them in the next year. Those clubs don't require much to like 20th place club in Spain. If you give them 4 million or $5 million, I think they're okay. It's not like England. No, England is like a rat race for 100 million pounds. In Spain, the drop off is dramatic from Barcelona, Real Madrid to even third.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Yeah. So what's happening to Project Restart?
Well, I'm pretty excited to watch more football today, even if it's like closed stadium football, and even if it means that Liverpool are gonna win the league.
Shit. What has life brought you down to? Yes, they made you sit at home for 3 months, and now they're saying we'll play without fans, and they're saying Liverpool will still win the league, and you're like, please, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean it's been a foregone conclusion because at least EPL teams need that money to survive from Sky and the other broadcasters.
So let us paint one more picture, right?
Right.
Liverpool needs 2 wins to win the league, no? Mota mota.
Yeah.
Let's say Liverpool win one game and lose like 3 games. And after 4 games, the infections or whatever, something happens in England and they have to ban the whole thing again. And then they just ban the whole thing, and then the league doesn't start. So England is forced to null and void this season. You think that could happen?
I don't think a null was give the trophy to Liverpool saying, yeah, you're closing up.
But that is not. That's just a Mickey Mouse trophy. Then no one cares for that such trophies.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the best case scenario then. if I mean, if this season was called null and void, I mean, we would have never heard the end of it from Liverpool fans, right?
No, that's okay. We are okay with about hearing from it. Those their fans always say something or the other. So
No, I mean, it's just, I mean, going back 4 months when they were losing all those games. I mean, they lost to Watford in the league, which ended their unbeaten run, and they went out of the FA Cup and the Champions League. At that point of time, they're like, no, eyes on the prize. We have to win the league. And now, when football stopped, they were like, hey, what the hell? We had won the title. The title is ours.
yeah, they should just give it to them. At least their fans will shut up now. This 30 years of pain, we've been waiting since we were born, and all of that bullshit will go away.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that phase is being prolonged unnecessarily for 3 months.
Yeah, but
Get it over, watch some football.
yeah, dude, a lot of footballs is starting. Like La Liga is starting, I think, on the 8th of June or something, and they're planning to play every day, right? Serie A is starting on the 12th June. They're playing 124 games.
We are not going to play anymore.
What?
I vaguely remember some news, but the Serie A saying no, though the season's over. We've called it.
That is France.
Okay.
So Serie A has plans. They have 124 games remaining in the league, and they want to play in 44 days. What? So you at any given point you'll have 3 Serie A games every day.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be festival of football.
Dude, this is almost like a World Cup. I mean, Serie A gets underway at 7:30 p.m. on 20th June, Saturday, with shock relegation battlers Torino hosting Parma, and in a new late slot, 9:45 p.m. They are starting with Hellas Veronas with entertainingly free-falling Cagliari,
Wow.
and then England is starting from
Yeah, same weekend England starting. I'm not going to watch these matches, man.
17th, starting with City and Arsenal.
Oh, what a great game to start.
I know. So now it brings to my point, and I had messaged you saying that I have some stat which says Arsenal are such a dirty team.
Yeah, I'm waiting so patiently.
All right. So it all started with Harry Winks and Jose Mourinho saying that, we need to start fouling a little more.
Oh God.
We are too nice as a team. And they're like, okay, so someone at the Athletic decided, is this even true that they're too nice? So let us do some research work. So the headline is, are Jose Mourinho's Tottenham really too nice? So one of the things for checking on whether a team is too nice or not is to see the percentage of opposition turnovers ending in a foul, right?
Right.
The Premier League games of 2019-20, which team is the highest in fouling the opposition when the turnover happens?
It can't be Tottenham if you said there. Too nice.
It's Arsenal.
Are you serious?
Yes, 8% of opposition turnovers have ended in a foul. The highest is Arsenal. And the second is Manchester City, 7.2%.
Yes, Man City, because remember last year when Solskjaer had observed that they commit those little bitchy fouls
Yes.
in possession. And yeah, I had observed that. I thought it would be City, but I guess Arsenal learned that trick, but they're so bad at defending that they commit these fouls.
So Arsenal, dude, before we get to Arsenal, the whole point about City. Do you remember the Champions League second leg with Jose's Inter and Barcelona, where they basically constructed some sort of fort and Barcelona could do nothing about it?
The double-decker bus.
Yeah. So one of the things in that game was Inter in its analysis had understood that Pep Guardiola basically tells his team to foul the opposition as soon as possible if the opposition gets the ball.
Right.
So what this guy said was, they said, look, we are a man down. So what we'll do
Mhm.
is whenever we get the ball, we will try to run with it. We will run
Okay.
near a Barcelona player and he will kick us. As soon as he kicks us, we'll kick the ball away and we'll lie down for some time. And
Oh,
then that whole thing takes like 75 seconds or something. So Pep Guardiola, I think in one of the books, said that I
uh-huh.
learned so much from that game because now realize that if people want us to foul them, they'll deliberately get to my players and they'll get fouled and they waste so much more time killing the momentum. So after that, he instructed his team to be a little more patient with trying to get the ball back.
Oh, yeah, that's great analysis. It's surprising. I mean, at City, certainly that there was a lot of fouling. He probably didn't try that against Mourinho teams because clearly Mourinho had figured that out.
Yeah, so if you actually go back and look at the second leg of that Barcelona Inter semi-final, look at
Right.
Inter, Samuel Eto'o, Maicon, anyone who got the ball,
Nice.
they run a little and wait, and they get fouled, and then they're like, oh God, like the world has ended for them. So
Yeah.
City second, but it is so surprising, no, that Arsenal are number one in fouling the
Yeah.
opposition.
I don't think that's intentional. I think they just don't know how to tackle
Oh
because there's
man.
nothing that they're gaining out of that. or well, I mean, Arteta was second in command to Pep, so I think I don't know. Pep didn't give him the entire playbook. He just gave him some pages.
He's
So
fouling, foul
he
करले.
wanted confidence.
Yeah, but it's such a weird table. Arsenal number one, City number two, Everton three, Crystal Palace four, Leicester five, Aston Villa six, Spurs are seventh. But here's the thing: under Pochettino, Spurs
uh,
were third. Under
uh,
Mourinho, Spurs are 12th. So they are nicer.
man, I think they're just lazier under Mourinho because he doesn't ask them to attack or win the ball back. It's weird.
No, so their pressing has dialed down a little under Mourinho.
Yeah.
But
So if
all
you
that,
if you just hold yourself back and wait for them to take a bad shot or just give the ball
yeah,
away,
but the
likelihood of you losing foul is
so the
less.
article goes on to say that Spurs in
Uh,
this season have been the least subtle foulers of the game. So they have they have the
so if
number of
so
fouls
if they go for
considered
the
to
ball,
yellow cards.
yes. So they go
So
in full blooded if you commit a foul.
so Spurs have 4.7 fouls per yellow card, which is the
Okay.
highest in the league, number one. So even though
Uh,
they're like 12th or 7th, 12th under Mourinho and overall
that's
7th in terms
right.
of fouling opposition, but when they foul, they get a yellow card.
That's pretty inefficient unless you like actually damage the opposition player and hinder his game.
I don't know. That is not part of the analysis on how many opposition players are injured.
Yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
clearly he needs to. This is one area that Mourinho really needs to improve. Then.
so I think he is. So supposedly so a lot of people have been doing work, in whatever this preseason they call.
Mhm.
So he's trying to install some amount of machoism in his Spurs players. It seems. What Solskjaer doing, dude, during this period of lockdown? How has he motivated the players?
I think he's just trying to create a bond between Pogba and Bruno. Like
Oh,
if,
is
if you,
Pogba still going to be at the club? By the way,
yeah, because no one has the money to buy him. No, there's
that'd be such a
at least
cool
one more year
midfield.
he's around because his contract I think it's till 2022. So 20,
McTominay, Pogba, and Bruno. That is a killer midfield.
yeah, it's pretty decent. I mean, I think he'll play Bruno slightly wide and still play Fred through the center.
Yeah, and get rid of Anthony Martial. Such a useless person he is.
I think what he'll play Gallo up top or what? It's like,
Yeah, I would play Igalo. I just don't like Martial, so I would play Igalo up top, of course.
He's pretty decent. I mean, he's having a decent season. Yeah, I think he'll still play number 9. And Rashford's back. I think he'll play left. Uh,
And
this guy will probably he'll play right.
Lingardinho.
He'll he'll be the medical officer. Too. He'll be ensuring that people are maintaining social distance.
Have he opened any of his clothing line or anything during this lockdown period, Lingard?
Surprisingly, no. I mean, I was totally expecting him to come out with a line of masks.
Dude, line of masks, really?
Yeah.
Oh God. Arteta had COVID. He's solved now. So
Uh-huh.
let's see what else
But
is.
but I read something insane. Like if you get COVID, your breathing capacity reduces by like 10% or something. So if a player contact gets COVID, then it
Hmm.
might really hinder his stamina.
But if a player gets COVID, he is going to be just treated as injured, and for 2 weeks he is going to be kept in
No, no.
isolation.
Obviously, if not playing wise, like it'll affect him for like 2 years or something.
What? Dude, where are you reading all this?
All over the
Has the
internet.
Ministry of Ayush like released some bogus data? Where are you reading all this? Okay, in other piece of news, Ralph Hasenhüttl has signed a new 4-year deal at Saints at Southampton FC.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's had a good second half of the season, whatever the second half
After
was.
the nine nil loss to
Yeah,
like
we've spoken about it. Like the 9-0 hiding really turned it around.
man,
For
so yeah, good on him, man. He's such a good guy.
yeah,
Okay, there is a question people are asking:
uh,
Is Musa Dembele Spurs' best import or best foreign player since the year 2000?
very random.
Yeah, dude,
Musa
there's no other
Dembele.
time.
Oh, Musa Dembele. Okay, I was confused between him and Sissoko. Musa
No,
Dembele
no,
was awesome, but I mean, does Gareth Bale count as foreign, or is that whole UK
no.
Wales?
He's part of UK. Isn't he the same country as Ryan Giggs, Gareth Bale?
Yeah, but like back in the day, I mean, they play for different teams in the World Cup and all.
हाँ वो सब ठीक है रे चलता है उतना तो चलेगा as long as they are part of the
I mean, what about Ericsson? I know you don't like him, but
Christian Eriksen. No, I
yeah,
like him. वो तो डेनमार्क का है ना. But I think Musa Dembele was like a much more.
I mean, he was very, very effective. But I would say I'd pick someone with more flair.
Wow. In the meanwhile, all this Delhi Ali was like robbed. Did you read about that?
No, Delhi Ali got dropped.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Delhi Ali was his girlfriend and his brother at his house. Some three guys came in with knives and they robbed him. And I think he has a knife mark on his face or something as well.
Here's a pertinent question:
Yes.
were they wearing masks?
Inside their house, why were the thieves were wearing masks, so none of them were contracted COVID. This is like such understanding thieves they are. Oh, so we already read about Igalo. So Pochettino has come up with a sentence because he's obviously
Uh,
looking for a job. So he's come up
uh,
with a sentence saying that football in England changed with my Southampton team of 2013-14.
oh wow.
There is no other team that had as big an impact in changing the mindset as that team. So, for 20 marks, explain what this means.
I don't know, man. This is so self-aggrandizing. He had a half decent team and which did reasonably well. What else? And Liverpool bought most of his players, and Liverpool are doing well. So I'm assuming those players are pretty decent.
So he goes on to say, we arrived at a club with a president like Nicolas Cortes, who gave us what we needed to create something unique in English football. Our ability to adapt to a completely different environment was incredible, and football changed in England.
Different from what? I mean, it's not like the club switch countries. Southampton has a pretty rich history of producing talent. So, I mean, going all the way back to Shearer and who else is there?
Why
Quite a few.
don't tell me. Tell Poch. He thinks he thinks not even Southampton. Football in England changed because of his Southampton team of
Well, I
2013-14.
mean, if he had looked at the history of the Premier League in general, every once or twice a year, there's always one team that gets promoted who does well for 3 4 years.
Man,
There
how
have been
desperate
so
is
many
he for
teams
a
like that,
job?
and Southampton was one of those. He did well, fair enough. He got a decent job at a mid-level club like Spurs. So yeah, that's that's about it.
So you don't think football has in England changed with the Southampton team?
No, absolutely not.
That is just so sad. I genuinely thought you would have much more insight than just bashing a jobless man.
Yeah, it's the wrong time to for him to lose a job.
All right, so let's see what managers are up to. So this is just preparing to be ready on the 17th because once football starts, no, there'll just be so much, and we
Yeah, we
want to
won't be able
know.
to catch a breath also. Like,
So
to
I think the best
react
way for the podcast then would be just to like pick two games
and
which we
analyze
have
them.
seen and not in analyze, just talk about everything around those games
Uh,
and close it. There is, man, I was just look at this news I'm going. In fact, there is no news on football only. Everyone is talking about 1989 Arsenal,
Okay.
or there is something going on about the invincible Arsenal versus Leicester City, which was a better Premier League campaign or some shit like
Yeah.
that. So that's going on, and there is a jobless manager who is saying my team was the best ever. So yeah,
Right.
that's pretty much that's happening.
Yeah.
And Bundesliga is over. I think they did such a good job. They showed the world how to do it. They finished their league in 2 weeks. They're just playing some practice games now.
So typical German
Yeah.
efficiency.
Yeah.
The goals are pretty nice. I mean, I saw the highlights of the top four, and
Yeah. Oh, and this is one big thing.
it's going to be pretty bad if he goes to Liverpool.
So
I mean, bad for us.
this is one thing, yes. You think there is nothing called home team advantage in Germany now, and you think that will be the same in England as well?
Yeah. Broadly speaking, yes, it will be much reduced without the crowds. I mean, apart from Man City, of course.
They never had the crowds. So let's see. Even the last weekend of games, right? Bayern beat Düsseldorf 5-0 and
Yeah.
Mönchengladbach beat Union Berlin. So even last week there were only 2 home wins. So over the last 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks, there have been only 4 or 5 home wins. That's it. Overall, total. Man,
Maybe
there must be some analysis on why the home advantage has gone down so dramatically.
I have a theory that when you're away, you're already in an environment where everything is foreign, so you're prepared for it. But when you're at home and you're in your home dressing room, it appears like what you've gone through, how many ever seasons you've played there, right? And then when you suddenly go onto the field and start playing a match, it's you're not in that. You go from a familiar zone to something so unfamiliar that it can phase a player. Is simply what I feel.
The beauty of your theory is not one sentence you said is quantifiable. So we can always prove this theory to be right all the time.
Right.
Oh, man. All right. Yes. Thanks a lot for chatting. Start reading up a little more because it's going to be a storm since June 8th. And this should be the only weekend you watch Bundesliga because you have to watch 3 leagues after that.
Awesome. It's going to be fun.
All right. Yes. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that show. We'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Guys, it's been a really, really cool week. We've had a ton of interesting stuff come out. We had an episode with Kunal Shah on Cyrus Says. We've had really stellar episodes on Pesa Vesa, Advertising is Dead, Filter Coffee Podcast, on Empowering Series, all over the place. Definitely do check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy what's been going on this week. And thanks for listening, and we hope to catch you again next week.
Are you looking for India's most awesome cricket podcast? Are you now tired of listening to the same old guys drone on about cricket everywhere? Edges and Sledges is a weekly cricket podcast hosted by 3 fans of the game, Varun, DJ, and myself, Ashwin. It was established in early 2018, has over 60 episodes now, and is of course now proud to be on the IVM Podcast Network. Each week, we get together from 3 different time zones, the USA, the UK, and Singapore, and we talk about things from the world of cricket, with a focus on Indian cricket. We often interview special guests from all around the world, including former cricketers and cricket media personalities. So check out Edges and Sledges, the cricket podcast, now on the IVM Network.